everybody. Welcome to the tall and the short of it. I'm Jenny, and we are going to be adding Betsy on here in just a second for today's live broadcast. Hopefully she'll be popping on here so I can invite her into the group. There she is. I will add her. No, I froze for a second. Oh no. Okay, hopefully I have good connection. All right. Yay, there she is. I might have to move this way a little bit. There we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Good. My lighting's weird.
How are you? I know, mine isn't either today. I think it's just getting darker outside.
And I'm in my living room
turn on my
where
overhead light, it
my
looks
windows,
weird.
I have light coming through, where sometimes I'm in my bedroom and I just always have my blinds pulled. So,
Yep. Yeah, in no time at all, it'll be dark by this time of night and we'll just turn on the lights, right? For sure. So, how was your day?
It was good. Sure.
It was good.
I was in training. I've been in training the last 3 days. So, it's always hard to not be in the classroom.
Yes.
I think at one point I text Jenny because my training was where her office is, and I was like, "Do you have any chocolate in your office?"
Mm-hmm. I know, and I happened to be
go
in
down
the dentist chair getting my teeth cleaned at the time.
We got out early, but yeah, I was like, I need some chocolate. So,
you know it. All right, well, we are going to get started here with this week's topic. It is Down Syndrome Awareness
You're
Month.
fine. If you aren't, you're in the center for us.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. So this is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, and we've already talked about what it is, and we've talked about, like, I went through that website with you guys. Sorry about the glitch last week. I tried to do that screencast the first time, and I bought a new MacBook, and the newer MacBooks don't work with Screencast-O-Matic the same way. So it had a glitch. So you could hear my voice through the whole thing, but you couldn't actually see the website. So I had to redo it using Screencastify and then repost it. But like I said, and I had I put it up as a preview so it would like pump it up. Hey, this is coming, and then all you could hear was my voice. It was like a podcast with no visuals. Yeah, not so good. So this week we're not doing that.
Hey, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie Hannah. All right. So this week we're talking about Down syndrome and education options. Our parent that was supposed to be here tonight, it had to put us off till next week. So we're definitely getting that in next week, because next week's the last week of our awareness stuff for Down syndrome. But we're going to talk about education options today. So first and foremost, before we even jump into the educational options that parents have when they have a child who has Down syndrome, is understanding the concept of what's called least restrictive environment in special education law. So the federal law, IDEA, and our Indiana law, Article 7, both say that all districts have to provide what's called a full continuum of services for students with disabilities. So what that means is we have to provide from regular education all the way down to like regular education, resource, self-contained, even more restrictive would be like a homebound placement, or even, and actually homebound's even more restrictive than day treatment. But there's like day treatment options, there's residential placements. So all of those various, we have to provide all the various ways in a school district, because for each student with a disability, the case conference has to be able to decide what is this child, what they call their least restrictive environment. And basically in essence, in real people language, that means as much as possible, and with them still learning, they have to be with general ed peers as much as possible. So like I said, if they can be in a regular class, they need to be in a regular class. If they, if behaviors get in the way, or if, things are just, they're so far below, then we might have to look at something different. There has to be all the options to choose from, though. So if you ever are at a school and they're like, well, we don't have that, that's not really true, because they have to have that by law. Right. And it doesn't have to be in their school. It can be through a cooperative, like they might not have it at their building, but some schools are in what's called a special ed co-op with other districts, and because they have so few kids that need certain programs. And then there's some kids that even choose to go like to the deaf school or the blind school or things like that. So like there's options that are available to every district. So like if they just tell you, oh, well, we just don't have that, you're going to have this, that's predetermination. They're not allowed to do that. So moving on. Now that that's said.
Yes. Well, we've talked about first steps pre-K before, when we did our preschool month. I think that's when we talked about it. But typically, children with Down syndrome have been a part of First Steps, possibly since birth, hopefully since birth, so that they can get hopefully therapies such as speech and language, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and then they just have also can do like developmental therapy as well. So, but at the time the child then turns 3, prior to turning 3, then they connect the parents with the public school, their home school. And so, they, like, we talk about preschool, but that can, and actually we're going to talk about how a child with Down syndrome, every single one of their educations can look different, and that starts at preschool. And that's for different reasons, but one of the reasons can be different schools districts provide preschool services differently in different ways. And there's not a prescribed, like how you typically think of like a classroom is, they go, they have a classroom and here's their preschool teacher and they go from this time to this time. That's not, some school districts do have developmental preschools, and some of them meet every day, some of them meet a couple days a week, some of them go half day. Like literally it is all different. And then it's some of
all
them
over the place
also have, instead of having an actual developmental preschool, might utilize their other types of preschool classrooms within their school district, and well, that was my next
or even
point,
in the community, like a Head Start. Yeah.
Don't know why she told me to talk about it if she butts all in. So, but they could provide, like some schools might have a Title I preschool. Some, there's just a lot of different types. Head Start doesn't necessarily have to be in the school, but can be. But they can utilize those and provide services to the students as a part of that programming, or again, they can be a part of just regular daycare preschools in the community. And some school districts will utilize that, but still provide services while the student attends those programs. So like I said, it can look so different. And even school districts, it's not even like, oh, here in the state of Indiana, this is what we do. Nope. I mean, from city to city, you can be in the same county in the school districts. It looks differently. It just depends. And like I said, it's it goes back to that case conference committee, and there's no right or wrong way in a sense to provide those preschool services other than not providing them. That would be real, it can look so different. And,
Right.
you know, one is not.
Right. Yeah, preschool is slightly different than K-12 in the fact that they're required, mandatory to provide it, but the continuum of services can look different. In fact, like some schools only provide, if there's speech, all they have is walk-in, where the parent just brings them in for their speech therapy, but otherwise they are either at home or daycare or whatever. There's all kinds of ways that preschool services can be provided. And it just is up to the individual case conference. So, all right. And so then we go to elementary, and lots of different options, even at the elementary level. So, and I'm thinking K-5 here. So, or 6 if your building goes to 6th grade. So obviously if a student is very mild in their presentation of Down syndrome, so they're verbal, they're able to read,
or they're able to learn. They're able to learn. We don't expect any
or they're working
kid to walk in
exactly. I mean, like
ready to read, but
right. I mean, a lot of students who are mild or even some moderate, as long as behaviors are not, out of control, usually they can try to be in general ed kindergarten classrooms and with supports. I mean, they're going to have those supplemental supports regardless, because
and those supports
there'll be some deficits from the
again,
Down
like we
syndrome.
said, it just looks different for every one of these kiddos, because their needs are so.
We've had kiddos that could be in kindergarten with no aid at all, with no adult support, except for maybe going to the resource room. And we've had kids who need a one-on-one. We've had kids who spend part of the day in the resource room, part of the day in general education. And then there are some self-contained options. If that child is very low, like a severe student, or they might have some behaviors that are incredibly disruptive to the educational environment.
I was going to say, or sometimes they just need
too much sensory issues.
Overload. It's too much stimulation in the classroom.
Right. They can't focus when they're in with all the 25 students or whatever. They might need a more separate class environment to be able to learn. And that's the key, is we start with general ed. We always start with general ed. And then if they can't learn in that environment,
I think my mom might be here.
What's going on, Callaway?
It's fine.
Oh no.
I didn't think she'd
say hi.
I didn't think she'd be here yet.
This one will be a super long one. Oh no. But then there's students who maybe their behaviors are so out of control that even a separate class option with an aid or whatever is, because that would be the next step. You'd have to provide one-on-one even in the self-contained option before you'd have to look at either a day school placement or a residential placement for some kids whose the behaviors are so out of control they aren't learning even in a self-contained environment. So that's the piece, is we keep trying things and adding more and more supports until they're learning.
No, she's
when they're
not
learning,
here.
that's their least restrictive environment.
Three doors shut, so we're fine.
Oh, okay, good.
She is coming, but it shouldn't be for a little bit. I said she is coming, but
and really secondary. Huh? That's okay. I said, and really secondary isn't much different than what we just talked about with elementary. There's all the options again, except now we're looking at transition. And they're going to be getting ready to be out of high school.
Well, and you're just always working on,
look different for different kids
getting them prepared for what those secondary options for them might be. So,
because some kids may have to have their math with a special ed teacher, but then maybe they can go to a co-taught English class, or they can go out to an art class on their own, but they are going to need support in science, or, it's all individualized based on their.
You just used a term that we're very familiar with, but if we have parents watching this instead of teachers, Jenny said co-taught. And that is something that is actually Jenny and I have done it before, years ago. So I mean, it's been around forever. I
Yay,
actually
it was so
did it
much
one year with
fun. I
3
miss those
different
days.
teachers, 2 different English teachers, and then a science teacher. And actually, I'm going to start
Uh-huh.
doing it with a teacher during science on Monday. But what that means is you have a special ed teacher in the classroom, and for my time when I co-taught with Jenny, I was that special ed teacher, even though Jenny's licensed. And then she was teaching 7th
Mm-hmm.
grade English, and she was
Right.
the the 7th, or she was the general ed English teacher. And then really what it is you have both experts, I get, let's use that term loosely. Um, but you have, both
Mm-hmm.
of the information from both of those teachers to meet. And actually it's beneficial to all kids, not just kids that would have been,
Absolutely.
had an IEP or whatever.
Right. And ideally when co-teaching occurs, it's
Mhm.
not just one person teaching and the other one standing around waiting to see what to
Mhm.
help with. It's that you two actually do work together on things, and that
Mhm.
you teach each other
Mhm.
enough to be able to go in and help in groups and teach content and do all kinds of different varieties of grouping
So
to
now I
really
think
meet the
we have
needs of all
another
kids in that
idea for
space.
us to talk about some different ways to meet some needs and to be so. And I will say it like I said, I co-taught with 3
Yeah.
different teachers that year. It was great with all of them, and it was very different. But I think Jenny and I had maybe the easiest time doing it, but that's because we already had a friendship and a relationship built
Uh-huh.
and had that level of comfort. So, but I mean, when you
Absolutely. That's so important.
okay, I swear I keep setting. Okay, we're good. I thought had to reset my timer. But anyways, so we'll talk. I think we need to explore different options, do some things. hmm
We could
But
definitely do
anyways, I just
different
wanted to
models
explain what
for
co-teaching was
sure.
because
That's a good
I don't know
idea.
that it's being utilized as frequently as it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, not everywhere, but it's gaining a lot of popularity, and as being
hmm
considered best practice in a lot of secondary settings. Um,
Well, and
Not as much
we
at
did
the
it
elementary level,
secondary, but
but
I'm going to
some.
be doing it in a
Um,
4th grade class starting on Monday.
right. hmm Like I said, I just think it's ideal for being able to have that expert in the general ed content as well as an expert
hmm
in how do we accommodate and meet the needs of all students. So you've got those two pieces. You can put your brains together and
hmm
plan and really deliver instruction in a way that's going to be good for everybody and doesn't make
hmm
someone feel like they're segregated or separated. I just think that's a really great way to address it. Okay, so, and we talked about how the
hmm
pre-vocational activities start coming in at the secondary level too, where those students are going to be maybe even having vocational rehabilitation come into the school and do some activities with them, or even you'll do more community-based type instruction, or even have them out on a job doing job coaching, or just all different. Some kids have school-based jobs
hmm
at that level. That's very popular for the younger high school grades,
Or a
to
lot of
have them doing a school-based
classroom,
job
like a lot
before
of
you
will
put
do
them
like
out
the
in the
coffee
community
carts
on
where
a
they sell
community.
coffee to the teachers, or yeah,
Right.
we do. We do.
Yes, teachers love
I
coffee
say we do.
carts.
I've never been experienced one, but I'm all about my coffee.
Right. That's really cool. Yes. And then last but not least, we want to talk about post-secondary options for kids with Down syndrome and
hmm
a plethora of other developmental disabilities, including autism, and those kinds of things.
hmm
So Betsy and I were
Yeah.
looking at some websites, and do
Well,
you want to just kind of
and
talk a little
actually,
bit
I
and then
just
I'll kind of fill
Googled
in?
colleges for students with developmental disabilities, and this is actually a blog on best colleges online, but the very first one, University of Iowa, and there are other colleges with very similar programs, or the actually the REACH program,
Mm-hmm.
REACH, is, you said, in multiple Okay. But this, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in multiple
Iowa.
locations. There's one in South
But it
Carolina.
said, I'm
There's
going to have
one
to read
where
a
you said
little bit,
Iowa.
but anyways, and this is for students with intellectual and cognitive and then learning disabilities. They have access to the REACH program. So through it, they get help with everything from their coursework to life on campus, which I really like that piece of it, allowing them to build career skills, and they perform better academically and learn to live as independent adults. During their first 2 years at the university, students live together in designated residence halls. They complete community-based internships and put together a portfolio of work marking their transition into college life. I just love that. I love that they get that on-campus experience. And it kind of goes along a little bit with when you interviewed Fenway Park at Erskine Green. And so,
right,
and that's
Green,
where, where we live, but just, it's one of those things to look where you are, if you're not right here by, in Indiana, here where Jenny and I are, there are lots of programs like this. And there are other programs, like I was reading through, that, and by the way, that one was number 1. It said it was like the 20 incredible colleges for students with special needs. That was number 1. And so, there are lots of programs like that out here. So, or out there. Here, no, I don't keep them at my house. And I was gonna say some of these.
Right, and no, I was just gonna say on USA, I don't know if it's USA Today. There's an article that talks about they've identified 265 post-secondary opportunities across the United States for students with Down syndrome, autism, and other intellectual and developmental disabilities, ranging from career-focused programs at community colleges to offerings that focus on liberal arts and academics at
there was
four-year
another
colleges
one
and universities. I'm like, that is really
that
cool.
I read that I said that they earn an associate's degree. And I can't remember which one that was. So anyways, it's just, I mean, we could actually probably talk for a whole session on, colleges. But my timer's going off.
Well, and some high schools are even starting to think outside of the box for their 18 to 22-year-olds that are typical college age. I know that there's a program in Marion, Indiana, with Indiana Wesleyan University, where the Marion High School life skills kiddos can take a class on campus at IWU, and they can have an on-campus job, so that they can get that piece of having a college experience. I know we're actually looking at that in Muncie as well. Yay!
And that's something that's
State,
great, especially if you happen to
State.
attend school near a college. And honestly, where we live, where we are, there are a lot of colleges. Yeah, very odd. Like, I mean, we could drive within an hour and hit like 5 of them. And so,
exactly. Like I said, I just think it's exciting to think about all the ways that high schools, because under Article 7 and IDEA, federal law, we are responsible as a public school for students to the age of 22. So we can partner with these groups outside of the building to give them those kinds of experiences. And I'm sure there's, like I said, there's grant money out there for looking at things like this. There's all kinds of stuff. So I just think it's exciting when schools are willing to step outside their box and try to work on a partnership like that.
I also want to point out, I don't know, really it doesn't matter what type of college it is, whether it's a private, a state, because what I just said, or a community college, I just said we could drive an hour and hit 5 different ones, and I think we hit every type of, all of them that we're talking about. There's a, Ball State College. Indiana Wesleyan is private. We have Anderson University, also private.
I think private.
We have Ivy Tech. So
private.
We have all of these types of colleges. They are all and when I'm looking at these colleges on online, it's all across the board. So you can look anywhere.
Right. Well, and you can also even look at partnerships with your adult services for disabilities as well. So like here in Delaware County, it'd be Hillcroft. Do you remember the name of the one in Madison?
I only went
Hopewell, yeah. So
I only went every quarter.
So like you can look at talking to those types of organizations about how they can partner with you to provide more of a college experience for kiddos at that age.
I think that's something
they're adults when they turn 18.
At some point we need to do some more visiting.
Yeah, like I said, I was just so impressed with how Erskine Green does that by giving them a Ball State dining service card so that they can eat on campus if they want. They teach them to ride.
Wouldn't it be cool if we could like shadow
so
a kid
town with their Ball State mentor?
Oh my goodness!
I know. All right. Well,
and let's just say the main takeaway is
today.
It's going to look different for every kid, and it's that case conference committee.
Right. And the options are wide open. Like we should always assume ability until we can see that it's not going to happen in that environment.
And that's if,
and then
as long as
move to that more restrictive
keep
placement.
trying different things, as long as the child is not like, you don't want to create anxiety or frustration to the
right. And oftentimes oftentimes kids will surprise you what they actually pick up and what they know. So I'm always like, success doesn't have to look the same for every kid either. We have to stop. We have to get out of that test mindset of every kid must know all these things. And truthfully, haven't we said a million times to each other as teachers, if we truly tried to teach every standard there is, we would never even, we can't fit that in a school year.
Right.
Like, so we need to make sure we're doing what's best for kids and what the things that they need to move themselves forward and not be so focused on those state ridiculousness things. Again, not the policy of our school corporation.
Well, and
Jenny's
funny,
own opinion.
We probably talk a little bit about this when we do our whole year in review, but guys, we talk all the time. Jenny and I both have about the same level of education, degrees or whatever, pieces of paper that said, hey, you can do this, whatever. But we learn so differently and go about things so differently that like it would have been so interesting, if you would have seen the two of us at school, it would have been, you would have never would have thought, like, I don't know that it would have been like, oh, they're going to end up kind of, or they're going to end up in the same place.
They're going to mesh well co-teaching.
It doesn't all look the same, but a lot of times where kids, that giving them the opportunities of where they could end up is what is important. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
creating that vision for sure. All right. Well, that is it for the tall and the short of it today.
Bye, guys.
Hope you join us next week, and we'll see you next